everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Tiphaine Schriver. I'm a digital project manager for Tactile Studio. So, who are we? We are an agency of inclusive design for cultural institutions, meaning we play with people's senses to make them understand the content. So we play with hearing, with the smelling, with the audio, and with the touch. And I really wanted to work for Tactile Studio because I simply love museums. I know it can be pretty boring for a lot of people. It's filled with old objects. But for me, it's really like a time machine. You know, I will find super old dice found in Egypt 2,000 years ago, and I will think about the child who played with it. Or I go to an art museum, and I will think about what the artist thought about taping a banana on the floor, all these things. And I really think that museums are underestimated because they are a form of art. Every color, every wall, every light, every video you see there is made to tell a story. So it's like a cinema, but in 5D. And I know I'm very lucky to go to those museums, to be a full able-bodied person. And not everybody feels welcome in those places. And that's why I worked on accessibility at Tactile Studio. And that's why at Tactile Studio, we ask ourselves questions like, how can you use enjoyable technologies to make culture accessible? That's our goal. But before answering this question, there are two big terms in green here that I want to give a definition. So, enjoyable technologies can be anything user-friendly. Can be motion capture, can be tactile screen, interactive screens, RFID, audio, or projections, as long as it's user-friendly. Now, the big word is accessibility. What does it mean? When do we think about accessibility? It's such a complex term. I'm going to show you an example of a very simple customer map for a visitor to go to a museum. He will go through so many stages to go to this museum, and there will be a lot of questions about accessibility there. For example, he will think about the visit. He will go there, he will ask himself, okay, is there a bus line to go there because I don't have a driving license? Or when I arrive, if I'm wounded, is there an elevator so I can go see the museum? I arrive in the site, I'm a little bit hungry, I want a gluten-free cookie, is it possible? All these steps are, we must take into account all those steps. And there's so many steps, so where do we work on accessibility here? For Tactile, we decided to focus on the exploring the site. We talk about the signage and the content. We want the people to know where they are going in the museums, so we work on orientation solutions, and we work on the content to make the content accessible. That's why, for us, accessibility means two things, and in this presentation. Accessibility, it means being able to be physically engaged with the furniture, the content. So being physically engaged. Then, accessibility, it's about having content that is understandable, so intelligible content. Those will be our two definitions of accessibility for today. And so to find solutions for this accessibility, we need different things. Okay, we know what accessibility is, but who's going to work on that? A wide range of experts in Tactile Studio. We have a lot of different types of people. We have developers, we have 3D model makers, we have craftsmen, we have researchers about making the content accessible, and the whole team is sensibilized about accessibility. They all know about what can be understood and what can't be understood. So first, to work on accessibility, get this team of experts. Then, this team must know what's universal design. They must keep this concept in mind. Universal design, it's about creating products, services, accessible to a wide range of users. And when you think about creating the services and products, you make them accessible, so you won't need to change the service or product after. So it's usable for everybody, and it's a long-lasting product or service. So you have your team. They know the concept of universal design. And what do? We are experts in creating multisensory experiences. As I said, we play with the senses, so hearing, touching, smelling, all those. And with this expertise, we're gonna put this expertise and mix it with new technologies. That's what we call hybrids. We're gonna physically engage the visitor, and when you will physically engage this visitor, he will get a digital response on a screen, for example. That's what we call a hybrid, and that's what we are developing. To be more concrete, some projects, because it can take a lot of forms. As I told you, there's a lot of different new technologies. One of our first projects was for the Van Gogh experience. It's an exhibition that can be easily moved around. It went to Canada, in Germany, soon it will be in the Netherlands. There, we tactically interpreted a self-portrait of Van Gogh. Meaning we put in 2D the trails of Van Gogh, because it's a self-portrait, so people know what are his features, or the features of his face. But we also put forward the brush strokes, because that was a characteristic of Van Gogh. So you discover his self-portrait, and instead of having a simple audio description, we created a 3D sound, a binaural sound. So when you put the sound on, you are Van Gogh. You are Van Gogh painting this artwork. You are at a stage where you become less stable mentally, and you have also your friend Paul Gauguin, who you started to work with 2 months ago, that really don't like anymore your relationship and all your projects. So you're painting this artwork, and you have your friend working around you. He's getting closer to you, speaking bad words to you. And this is an easy, immersive experience to create and to bring in a lot of different places. Here you just need an audio sound helmet to hear, to listen. So that was our first experience with audio. Another project we are currently working on, it's for a museum in a country of the Middle East. We created there 50 interactive movies. We created a tactile trail. But what I want to talk to you about today, it's the creation of an accessible boat for children. I'm going to show you the brief received first. So that was the first drawing we received. Huge boat, 8 mini games, looks super fun for children from 4 to 12 years old. And then we think about our definitions of accessibility. How can you physically engage with this boat? So many children will run around it, so many different ages, different concepts to learn. So physically, how can we physically engage people? And how can we make those contents about building a ship, about how can you navigate with this ship, with complex notions to make understand to young children? How can we make those content accessible? From this concept, first brief, we created this boat that we split it in 3 parts. So we split it in 3 parts because we wanted first to have one part for older children, so the head of the boat. The middle of the boat is for games that are suitable for children from 6 to 10. And this is more for family game, for family experience. So here you see, first, there is more flow. People can move around, can look at what other people do. So it's more accessible. Then there are small details that maybe you didn't pick up right now, but for this game that used to be for only one person, the screen was horizontal. It meant that it wasn't very easy for everybody to see. For example, people in wheelchair, they must really go in front of it to see what's going on. So by putting it like this, so vertically, everybody can see what's happening. And just by putting it vertically, it created a whole new space at the back of the boat. And now it became a family game, so everybody could come, any age, and play. Another game that we created, a real hybrid, you'll see, it's this game here. The goal was to explain the notion of, the goal was to explain the mechanism of pulleys. Pulleys, so you see, for children aged 7, it's really hard to understand how it works. So on the screen, children can choose to use only one pulley. You click one pulley, and you will pull the rope that you see here hanging, and you'll see that it's very hard to hoist the sail of the boat. Okay, no, you want to use 2 pulleys instead of 1. You're going to pull more, and it's going to be way, way easier. And by engaging physically the children, he will understand that this mechanism helps to navigate more easily, etc. So those are little differences that makes the whole difference, the experience totally different. Also, just to notice, for this game, there is a space under the table, so people in wheelchair can also come and play. But to create those hybrid experiences, there's a lot of work about also testing if the content is really understood by the children. Okay, they play, they want to touch everything, but do they really understand what they're doing? Ah, no video, too bad. So these are still some photos of the boat. So we invite a wide range of profiles, children, different people with disabilities, to test the furniture. Is it physically accessible, first of all, and then we let them touch everything. We don't say anything about the games. And normally here you see children pulling the rope, so they really interact with the game. After all of that, without saying anything, we ask them, okay, how did you find it? What did you understand? And this is our way to be sure that the content of a game are accessible. Our very last project is in another country of the Middle East, and it's about another boat. So here the content of this gallery, so it's this image, we wanted to tell the story of a boat that went down in the 10th century in the ocean. And this boat was a commercial boat, so there were artworks in it, and there were a lot of spices. So this boat, this shows the importance of the trading powers back in those days. And we played with different senses again here. So the goal is that you come in this room, and you see this table, which is like the bottom of the ocean. There are little fish. There's just a little beam of light, like the bottom of the ocean. The first thing you do is that you're going to unveil with your team what you can see there. So with the joystick, you're going to move the spotlight. And the spotlight is going to discover some artworks. And those artworks are going to reveal some details. You're going to see also those little fish swimming around, because that's their place, you know? Okay, so now you know there's something at the bottom of the ocean. What are you going to do? You're going to continue to discover. At another side of the table, there's fibers that should remind you of seaweed. You're going to move the seaweed, and the sand, the animation on the table, is going to remove the sand. It's going to remove all the little crabs sleeping there, and you're going to discover other artworks. And so, okay, and then the sea life is going to take over again. After you discover it, we want you to get creative, because it's another way to engage the children and the families. You can pick an artwork that there is on the table, and on your table, interactive tactile screen, you can directly draw on it, and your creation will appear live on the table. The last sense we didn't talk about, it's about smelling. We showed all the artworks that the ship was carrying, but we didn't talk about the spices. How can we do that? We created smelling stations. You're going to click on a button, you're going to smell, and you're going to try to guess, okay, what's this very strong smell? It's very easy, but it looks easy, but it's an experience that really engages people, because they're going to talk together, like, oh, okay, that smells like grandma's dish. I don't remember what it was. So it's going to create discussion. And after 5-10 seconds, there's going to be an animation on the table showing what was this seed, this plant. So those are some of our propositions to create to make enjoyable technologies accessible, and so they can make culture accessible. So to conclude, to make the cultural content accessible through new technologies. First, get a team, experts that know the concept of universal design. With those things in mind, don't forget to use new technologies when it's relevant. You don't need thousands of screens everywhere. You saw with the Van Gogh experience, just some sound helps to get immersed and learn new things. So you don't need to put a lot of new technologies. Just use it when it's relevant. Change the types of new technologies. Mix it with multisensory experiences, so it responds to a wide range of needs of users, and so it will surprise every time the visitor. And don't forget to test. And that's it. Thank you for your attention. If you want to listen to the audio of the Van Gogh, I have it after if you want to listen. And have a great day. Thank you. Je parle hyper vite. Parfait. Je parlais bien vite.